What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Chris, and this is my channel Barn on 11970. It is currently 4:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, November 17th, 2016. And for those of you wondering why I'm up, well, to pretty much sum it up, I'm an insomniac, and it's very rare I go to sleep before 3 o'clock in the morning. And I always have things on my mind, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on the day. So whether you watch this live now or you watch it later on, I hope you will listen to hear what I have to say. One of the things I like to do, especially when I can't sleep late at night, is to watch videos on YouTube. And every now and then, under the recommendations, you'll just get some random video that had nothing to do with the normal things that you look at. And I saw one of my cats was lying on the bed with me, and I saw this one about birds, so I started putting those on, and it caught the cat's attention. Then next thing you know, I'm starting to get more recommendations about animal videos, which was nice and relaxing, and it was a change of pace considering all the chaos and the fighting and the disharmony of this world currently with the current political situation. So it was nice to kind of just relax a little bit. Had my cats there, and we were just viewing this. So then all of a sudden, I get this recommendation of a video of some older gentleman sees this baby rabbit just kind of sitting there on the ground, not moving, not afraid of him, and basically sees there's something wrong with this baby rabbit. And basically, he petted and stayed there until this rabbit ended up passing away. It was pretty touching. I mean, they put the nice dramatic music in it and everything, but I thought, you know what, in this world of chaos these days, it was nice to see somebody actually care about something other than themselves and the chaos that we have. And for those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, know I am a huge lover of animals. I mean, I have 3 cats, all 3 of them are strays, so it kind of affected me a little bit. So I watched that video, and then I watched a couple others, and I got up for a moment because it was just getting a little too warm in the house. I went to shut off the oil burner and shut off the heat. And I started thinking about it. I was saying, that person, just was petting it, which was nice, but what if that person took that rabbit, that baby bunny, to the vet? Would it have saved its life? And then I was really thinking about it. It costs money to save something's life. Like if that person would have, one of the reasons why the person may not have even thought about it is maybe they didn't have the money to afford something like that because it could have been costly. And then I really stopped and thought about all the things I talk about when it comes to fiat currency and money and how people say that money is the root of all evil. If you stop and think about it, your life can be determined on how much paper you have in your possession. Because just that simple bunny, which ultimately ended up passing away, but at least it has had a few last moments of someone kind instead of somebody trying to hurt it or kill it or injure it or play with it for their own personal amusement. There was somebody giving it kindness. But just imagine if we lived in a world where a vet or a doctor or whatever, you could bring an animal or your family member or yourself and they will just heal you. Just imagine if that bunny, which may seem insignificant to most people, but to me it's a living creature, that what if there was no monetary system, there was no form of control, and that person could have said, you know what, I see an animal in need, I can't help it, but maybe somebody can, and just was able to bring it to a place and save its life at no more cost than just the time spent. Now, most of you will say, well, why do you care so much about a rabbit or a baby bunny? I don't view it as a rabbit or a baby bunny. I view it as a creature that lives on this planet. And the monetary system is created to basically choose whether we can live or die. And there are people that have had to go bankrupt because of whatever disease or accident or whatever to try and hold on to another day of life. And that for you to be a person that could get everything that you need to save yourself, you need these pieces of paper that some genius came up with, that they can unfairly create in thin air and distribute it to the wealthiest of people who will be gracious enough to lend it out to us, and I say that sarcastically, with interest, forever putting us more and more in debt. And we see people all over the world dying of diseases like cancer and all these other diseases, where people, because of this paper currency that some profit off of, millions will go to bed hungry or thirsty, and some will not wake up at all because they didn't have this green piece of paper to live the next day. And I find that incredibly sad. And in a way, I was kind of glad at some of the videos I was watching tonight, because with this election, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of anger. And we're missing an opportunity to see the real light. That to me, all life is precious. And to have a piece of paper determine if someone or something lives or dies is the ultimate form of control. And there are many people right now that are rooting for one side or another to control over them, which ultimately can come to the basically helping them create a potential doom for us all. Now, does that happen? That could be dramatic, sure. But I don't believe that so many people are seeing this as something different than they've ever experienced in their lifetime by accident. And like it says in the image that you see, somebody, and that wasn't me who wrote that, I don't know who did that, I just saw that and I thought that was a great thing to put, is it says, I'm a piece of paper and I control your entire life. And just think about that. We have a Federal Reserve that is not creating anything, doesn't manufacture or sell anything, and can, out of thin air, put in as many number digits as they want, which they don't give to the people in the world. They give it to banks, and they give it to elites, who then distribute it out like crack and some narcotic drug, addicting drug. But it comes with a price. If you want that piece of paper, you got to work to get more of it to pay us back what we gave you. And you spend your whole life in debt. How many more people have to die in this world before we see this system is no longer worth holding on to? And that's why I make my videos talking about how, Hillary Clinton wasn't the answer, and as much as Donald Trump may seem better, he's not the answer. They're going to keep the old system alive, and they are using our emotions against us because they feel if they can't scare us into submission, they can bribe us into submission. And those pieces of paper will be created more and more and puts us all in debt. And that's how countries now get overthrown. And that's why I don't believe there'll ever be a nuclear war. They don't need to control people through destruction with a nuclear device. They just give you credit and then one day take it away from you. And when the world is dependent on these paper currencies to even, well, basically just to live, what happens if they take it away from you? Because the average person does not grow food. The average person does not sew their own clothing. The average person is living day to day. A lot of people are living on credit. or on a welfare system from a government. And it always comes at a cost. So what turned out to be just a simple video of a baby bunny rabbit that for whatever reason was dying. And there was just this, you could tell it was an older person because as he's trying to pet the rabbit, he's kind of uncontrollably shaking. And I can only imagine by all the medications that he's taking that these people distribute out to help us not get cured, but to be treated, that it made me see the bigger picture and what is really in control here. And unless we find another way, this is going to be the reason that consumes us all. So, I'm very glad I saw that video, and I am a firm believer in all things happen for a reason. And I've always been touched by animals. I've always been one of those people that wants to save them. I don't like seeing animals in pain, but I also realize that we, the human species, is also part of the animal kingdom. And there are going to be thousands upon thousands of people that went to bed tonight that will never open their eyes again because of paper currency that a few people in this world control to keep us enslaved and determine whether we live or die. And if some of these people come along and send their little minions to throw us a bunch of scraps of it, we seem to be okay with that. And a lot of times we don't see how it affects other people. And that's why I talked about the other day about, talking about how liberals, they view life in harmony and peace, but they're okay with a woman's right to murder a child just because it hasn't been born yet, like it doesn't have a right to live. And I challenge anyone on that side that views that right to choose to see an abortion video and see what they do to that baby. And it's disappointing the priorities that we have in this world. I would have more respect for that little bunny rabbit than I would probably half the people on this planet, the people that are selfish, the people that spend their days getting pleasure out of hurting others. And that goes for all levels of hurt, whether it's somebody in control of your money or somebody in control of your channel. So what I recommend to people this Thanksgiving, instead of worrying about, what new phone you're going to buy when Black Friday comes along, and caring about stuffing your face with a bunch of food, what I recommend, do something good for humanity in some way, shape, or form. Help an animal. Help people. And stop worshiping the almighty dollar, which, as you can see by the back of that, has a lovely pyramid on it, with a single eye, with plenty of the number 13 all around it. And you could see where it says, right under the word peace, it says, "In God we trust." And you assume it's the God that you've been told to worship. The bearded man hovering in the clouds. And yet, you see no crosses, no angels, no image of God, no image of Jesus, nothing that would actually depict what they make you believe. And yet you see pentagrams, you see pyramids, you see single eyes, and you see the number 13 prevalent in many places on it. And they use our assumptions to fool us. And because of those pieces of paper, it can determine if you eat or not, if you lose your home or not, or if you live or not. And why we're okay with that is something that's beyond me. So maybe this is a time of some form of judgment. It's very easy to be deceived and have the glorification of having all of the paper money you can get. But if it's to sacrifice the life of your fellow humans so you can glorify in all your worldly possessions, then do we deserve to have control of this planet at all as a species? That's something to think about. So as usual, my videos are not going to reach millions. But if it's reached you and touched you in some way, then it served its purpose. And I want to thank those that are up for whatever reason, wherever they are in the world, because I have lots of people that follow me all around the world. And I respect people that do that and spend the time just to come here to have some ordinary person like myself just speak their mind. I appreciate that. And it also helps me feel better that I'm doing something positive in this world, because it's very easy to hurt people. It's very easy to lie to people. It's very easy to scam people, deceive people, take advantage of people, even kill people, or just do nothing and allow something to die or someone to die, to look the other way. It takes effort and real strength to save a life, to make a life better, to be comforting. Real strength is not having millions of people around you where you have to feed off of their energy to have strength. Real strength is being by yourself and being able to handle anything that the world brings to you. And my mother and I actually had a conversation today, and my mother, I'm not mother's boy in any sense of the word, but I respect the fact that my mother was always there for me. She was the most kindest woman that I've ever encountered in my life. And we were talking, because I don't know if people remember this, or if I don't even know if I mentioned it, and I think I might have, but I think it's almost been a year now that my aunt was dying of a heart attack. And they said she wouldn't live. And she called us, and this is back at the time when I broke both of my feet. So I think I did mention this. And my my aunt is 100% Sicilian Italian, and throughout her life she would always argue and fight and just be very angry. And that'll put pressure on your heart, and eventually took its toll. And the doctors basically said there's no chance she'll ever live. And they put her in this experimental machine where it was almost like this huge cage thing, and she was held upside down, and they spun her around to keep the blood from rushing to her head. I'm not really sure how it worked, but they were saying don't expect her to live another night. And by some kind of miracle, she not only survived, but she healed in ways that even the doctors said was not possible. And instead of realizing she had a new lease on life and to change her ways of being so angry and judgmental, she went right back to being that same person that she was. And I said to my mother, it's like, one of the reasons why I wanted my aunt to live, I mean, I love my aunt and everything, but I was more concerned that it could kill my mother because my mother cares so much. And I said to my mother today when she called me, because she went to call me for my birthday and I didn't answer the phone for the weekend, because in a way I was kind of down, because, I mean, on my birthday years ago when I was a teenager, my grandfather died on November 5th and they buried him on my birthday. So I never really had birthdays because the family is too depressed, and that's understandable. And after a while I got used to not having parties and stuff, and it didn't hold any meaning. But this year, like, not one birthday card, half my family didn't call. It was just a regular, ordinary day. I mean, if you saw on November 9th, I was making videos. That was my birthday, what I did. So when my mother left a message, I didn't answer because I just wasn't in the mood to talk to anybody. I wasn't in a celebrating mood. And when I talked to her today about that, and I said, you know what, you got to let your sister go, because she's going to end up with another heart attack, and she's going to leave this earth. And it's her own fault, because she chose to stay angry and not see this miracle as a second chance to look on life. And I praised my mother for all the good things that she's done and what she's tried to instill. And I think that helped her to feel better about herself. And it made me feel good because it made me realize, and I said this to my mother, maybe the test of true strength, and this is why the purpose of why I gave that whole brief background, is my mother was the same way. She was always friendly to people, always giving, always thinking about other people other than herself, and she's had people walk all over her, hurt her, take advantage of her, and yet she still remained strong. And I could tell there were times she was sad, but she never really wanted to show it. She was very strong, but I could tell. And I remember as a kid, she'd always say, she always felt bad like she wasn't a good mother because my parents got divorced when I was 10, and she had to do what it took to survive. So I told her, because I've been through the same thing in my life. I've spent the majority of my life helping other people, helping animals, and caring about other people, only to be ignored or taken advantage of, or even like on YouTube, get attacked by some people who find pleasure in hurting others, because for whatever hole they need to fill in their heart. And I said to my mother today, and it was an epiphany, that I was like, you know what? I think the caring people that get taken advantage of and hurt, that maybe we're tested to see how many times we could get knocked down and still get the strength to stand back up again and not need anyone else to lift us up. And I know there's a lot of people out there, especially people that come to my channel, who are the same way. And I even kidded around. I said, oh, you know what? I kind of understand what it means to be lonely at the top. And I don't mean monetarily. I mean the fact that the more you know and the more you care, the more you're different from others, the more people kind of vacate your life. But true strength is when you can handle everything the world hands you by yourself and not let it defeat you. And you don't need the energy of others to lift you up. And how many people in this world right now, like you see all these riots and these protests and all these people, they need other people's energy in a huge gathering to get the energy of one of us. And they have their lives so much easier. They're probably a lot happier spending all of these fiat pieces of paper and looking the other way and looking down at others and judging people and hurting them. It doesn't take effort to do that. It takes effort to be kind, to be compassionate, to be caring and loving. And the people who create these fiat currencies, these paper debt notes, they're not there to care for you, no matter how much they say they're doing it for you. So if you are by yourself, if you're one of those people that got hurt so many times in life, be proud that you didn't need anybody else to pick you up. Even though there were plenty of times you probably wish somebody would. Because you got yourself up. And you are the ones that are not needing that control. And we can take hit after hit. So I guess this is one of those things where I start out, have a certain topic, and then go in another direction. But I guarantee you, and I promise you, somebody listening to this will affect them in a positive way. Maybe make them look in the mirror a little bit nicer towards themselves and with a little less judgment or a little less questions of why me. And that's what we need in this world. Not these pieces of paper. Not these politicians that are just telling you that they love you and care about you while the cameras are running and while they're in the public. So as I always say, I'm not going to make this video very long, and then I'll go into a 10-15 minute little tirade or whatever. Considering it's about 4:45 in the morning, even us insomniacs need to get some kind of sleep. So at this point, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for listening to what I had to say. I hope it resonates with you, and I hope the people that come here for the right reasons choose to start doing good. And don't do it just because you want to make a scoring point to reach your heaven. Do it because it's the right thing to do. I'm sure that person that was there for that little bunny had better things to do or could have done so many other things. But that person decided to take their time to just be there for something that was probably just going to die alone. And that actually, well, I'll tell the story for another time. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time. Always appreciate you guys. Good night, everybody.